At 6'9", 245 pounds with a 7'4" wingspan, Scottie Barnes is the biggest point guard in the NBA. In a league that is starved for primary decision makers, jumbo creators, guys like Cade Cunningham, guys like Luka Doncic, guys like Dylan Harper. If you're looking at the trends, the most valuable archetype in the NBA is whatever is closest to whatever the hell LeBron James is. And while there hasn't been a LeBron James in quite some time since LeBron James, Scottie Barnes might be the closest thing in the NBA to that, flirting with a triple double on a nightly basis, averaging 10.9 assists per 100 possessions. And this is up from 10.8 assists per 100 possessions. This is up from 4.9 as a rookie. He has more than doubled his assist rate since he was a rookie. And again, that's adjusted per 100 possessions. So he's just handling the ball a lot more. We have seen a revelation with Scottie Barnes. So in today's video, we're going to talk about what the numbers mean. We're going to talk about Scottie's challenges and perhaps triumphs as a lead initiator, what this means for the Toronto Raptors offense going forward. And we're going to play a really cool game. We're going to look at about 20 plays of Scottie Barnes, and we're going to see, without cheating, hopefully y'all haven't seen this video already, if you can tell what the right decision is with the benefit of with the benefit of hindsight, with the benefit of maybe memory, with the benefit of an extra second or 2 seconds as we pause and evaluate the floor, and with the benefit of a vantage point that is far greater than having three defenders having a hand in your face. The way Scottie Barnes processes the court, frankly, is magical. And I say magical because I am alluding, of course, to Magic Johnson, one of many point guards throughout NBA history who have advocated very loudly for the greatness of Scottie Barnes. Now, a quick summary. Kyle Lowry once said when he's like, I saw Scottie in high school for the first time with his AAU club, Kalo and me. And he said, I knew immediately he was a point guard. Magic Johnson said, he reminds me of myself. Leonard Hamilton, his FSU coach, great coach. Leonard Hamilton has forgotten more about basketball than most people will ever know, said Scottie Barnes is a hybrid between Magic Johnson and Scottie Pippen, right? And who else? Jason Kidd, very complimentary. Kevin Garnett, very complimentary. Kevin Durant, very complimentary. What did Kyrie Irving say the other day? Point guards like Scottie Barnes and Luka Doncic have significant advantages because they're so large. So if every player who's ever played this position pretty much can see it, that he's a point guard, his trainer himself came on this show, and when I asked him point blank, is Scottie Barnes a point guard? He said for sure. He didn't even hesitate. I've been telling you for 4 years he's a point guard. Why is it that the Toronto media has always been obsessed with some idea that Scottie is a center? Well, it's because he's 245 pounds, built like a brick shithouse, and because he had some considerable gaps in his game towards becoming a lead initiator. To become a lead initiator, you have to be able to manipulate the defense. In order to manipulate the defense, you need to be able to do two things. You have to be able to handle the basketball competitively and competently without turning it over, but you also need to be able to wiggle and shift through tight spaces, something Scottie has struggled with immensely. You need to be able to cut down your turnovers and not be a super high turnover player. Scottie Barnes has had some very high usage games with some very high load turnovers. And you also need to be able to shoot. Otherwise, the pick and roll becomes somewhat easy and predictable. And if you can't shoot, i.e. Josh Giddey, i.e. Ben Simmons, then you just need to be a relentless downhill attacker. You need to be able to burst past the defense. And Scottie is not LeBron James athletically. He's a different type of athlete. I'm not saying it's better or worse. It's probably worse. But it's a different type of athlete. It's not that super burst, Ja Morant, Derrick Rose, put the Jets on and just blitz downhill. That would have made his challenges as a point guard much easier. But where Scottie had to get better was the handle, getting comfortable in the half court. And this is something that Brian Macon, his trainer, came on last year and we talked about it. And he said, wait till he can score 8 to 12 points in the half court. It's going to be some shit you've never seen before. And I think we're seeing something in Raptorland that we've never seen before. The only player in Raptors history who has even 80% in common with what we're seeing from Scottie Barnes is really two players, Tracy McGrady and Pascal Siakam. These are the only two players who have ever, at that size, with that handle, been able to competitively handle high load playmaking duties. Everyone else has been either smaller or just a very different player archetype. So I think that it is very, very important that we realize that what we are witnessing is really at 23 very rare, because Pascal did not get there at 23 and Tracy McGrady was in Orlando at 23. So we are really witnessing a one of one when it comes to Raptors history. But still, I will say some people are just not ready to give him his flowers. So let's take a look at the stats. Let's take a look at what those stats are looking like so far. And hopefully I don't get laggy because I put something else on the screen. And of course I get laggy. Why wouldn't I get laggy? Damn this computer. Okay. So if you look at his per 100 possessions, the highest scoring rate, the highest rebound rate, the highest assist rate, the highest steal rate, the lowest block rate, the highest turnover rate. Everything is high, 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 except for those blocks. The usage is the highest it's ever been. It has floated north of 28%, but fell down a little bit. The box plus minus is as high as it's ever been. The offensive box plus minus is as high as it's ever been. The turnover percentage, the assist percentage, we are moving in the right direction. The 3-point attempt rate is the highest it's ever been. No surprises there. And again, 3-point attempt rate has been steadily moving up every single year. Assist rate, assist percentage has moved up every single year. So the question right now is, how high do these numbers look when he's 26? I'm going to give you my projection right now for what I think these numbers are going to look like in 3 years. Okay. Are you ready for this? Okay. Let's go across the board. PER, north of 25. True shooting percentage, north of 58. Okay. Free throw rate, I think this is around where he's going to be, 30, 32%. Okay. Rebound percentage, I'm going to say maybe 14%. Assist percentage, north of 40. Steal percentage, probably here. Block percentage, probably around here. Turnover percentage, 14%. Usage, 32%. In terms of offensive box plus minus, it can go as high as 8. Defensive box plus minus can go as high as 2. Box plus minus, probably 10. 10, would that be crazy? 9.5 to 10. That's where I see him in his prime. And in terms of per 100 possessions, where do I see these numbers? Okay, points per 100 possessions in his prime at 26, 37, 36. Okay, blocks 1, 1.2, steals 1.6, assists 14, rebounds 13. That's what I see. Okay, 3-point percentage, probably 35%. Field goal percentage, probably 51%, 52%. That's what I see. Okay, that's where I'm at. We can talk about the Dennis Schroder trade after, guys. Just try to focus on Scottie Barnes for now. Okay, let's remove this and let's get this started. Okay, so what we're going to do is we are going to pause, okay, right before the decision is made, and you tell me who the right pass is to. Okay. Now, can you tell me who the right pass is to? I'm not waiting. There's not that many people, right now watching. If you guys are not going to participate, it's going to be a little bit faster. But if you want to participate, let me know who the right pass is to. Okay. There's really 3 passes here that can potentially, he can wait for an opening for Jakob Pertl, or sorry, for Jamison Battle, number 77 in the middle. He can try to slip this through to Jonathan Mobo, or he can find Jamal Shed in the corner. Which way is he going to go? All right, let's see what he does. Darian saying Shed, but if the defender shows out, Mobo. Mobo was the right pass. Shed is not a good shooter at the point of this game. I believe he was still shooting 28 or 27% from 3. So a wide open shot for Jamal Shed is not netting you the type of percentages that a wide open dunk. And again, court mapping is all about understanding where the help is, where the defense is, where the gaps are, and understanding sort of the court and then mapping it out, seeing where everybody is, and then having that sort of extra gear to be able to see where things will be in a couple of seconds. Okay. So here's another example. Now here, Scottie is going to call Ochai up. He is going to try to split 2 defenders here. Now, tell me what's the play. There's a pass back to Ochai. RJ is not really open right now. That would be a turnover. He can try to slip this through to Jacoby Walter, but it would be more of a lob. And by the time the pass gets through, it would not be very good. Or he can continue driving and hope that Bam Adebayo commits and then pass it through to Yak. Yep. And that's what he does. So that's the right play. Okay. Now, Scottie Barnes is double teamed aggressively. We've seen, teams try to do this to guys like Joel Embiid and Nikola Jokic. So really what they're saying right now, Jimmy Butler is focused on him, kind of ignoring Davion Mitchell. RJ Barrett is trying to cut through, but Duncan Robinson sees it. So what is the right move here? At this point, what is the right move? There's a wide open shooter in the corner. Darian Matisse sees it, and that's correct. The correct read is to suck in all this defensive, and then boom, a nice little pass to Ochai Agbaji, and Ochai is going to make it. Perfect. Okay, now what are we doing here? Okay, now Scottie's handling the ball on the break. You'll notice a lot of times that there's a lot of time left on the clock. Scottie finds consistently early offense. Here's a fun fact for you. RJ Barrett shoots for 59% true shooting with Scottie. He shoots 51% without him. And there's a reason why. Scottie does things like this all the time. Now, here, what is the right move? Jonathan Mobo? No, we're going to wait. Okay. Because now there is a play. If he wants to lob it over the defense, I think he can get this over to Jonathan Mobo. Okay. But this is the advanced read because Karl Anthony Towns is trailing this play. Jakob Pertl is going to cut through the paint. Jakob cutting through and Jonathan Mobo cutting through is going to create a pocket of space where Grady is going to basically be unguardable. Now, if Cat does recover to Grady, he's not a good defender on the perimeter. He's really not a good defender anywhere. And Grady is going to have a huge advantage being able to drive. I'm perfectly fine if he throws this lob to Jonathan Mobo. The one reason not to throw the not to throw the lob to Jonathan Mobo is simple. OG Anunoby is covering Jonathan Mobo, and OG is known to pick off these passes. So by the time you send it to Jonathan Mobo, Mobo, who has not been very great at converting around the rim, might be one-on-one against OG, and then there goes your transition advantage. Right now, you have 5-on-4. You need to capitalize, which means since OG is closest to Mobo, you cut off the Mobo thing, and you have two options. Number one, you pass to Yak, who will be cutting into and of eventually driving into a packed paint, or you try to thread this needle to Grady. What's he going to do? Throws it to Grady. Grady, a little pump fake. Grady jump shot. Boom. Okay. Now here, what does he do on this play? There's a swing back to Grady, right? There's a pass across to the weak side to Jonathan Mobo, who's being guarded by Deuce McBride, but not really being guarded at all because Deuce has a foot in the paint. Would be a pretty slow recovery. But there's also a really easy pass, and that's what Scottie's going to do. But he's not going to do it right away. He's going to wait for one extra dribble for this defender to commit, get in the air, and make it impossible to get back to Jacoby Walter. And that's exactly what he's going to do. Boom. The widest open three of Jacoby's life. Now, Jacoby's not shooting it super well. You could have some issues with that, but it's the right pass. It's the right pass. You could say Grady shoots it a little bit better. Grady's in his spot, but Jacoby's open for three. And worst case scenario, if Jacoby wants to swing it one more time, he wants to wait for the defender to close out and then take one dribble and pass it over to Grady, that'll still be an open shot. Scottie has done his job. Okay. He has absolutely done his job getting this open shot. Okay, here. Now this is transition. We have a 5-on-3 fast break. The type of situation that the Toronto Raptors screw up literally every game, but not with Scottie. Okay. Now, you've got a very important factor here. And this is where, you say, what is court mapping? Court mapping is understanding that Derek Lively is behind the play. Court mapping is also understanding that Luka Doncic is a really bad defender and knowing that there's one player that's the obvious pass. Okay. Because Luka, now you could say it should have been to Ochai. That would have been the, let's say, that would have been the casual pass. But there's no way that you were going to compare Ochai Abaji's ability to drive into two defenders and waiting for this extra dribble and then making this pass here to RJ allows RJ to attack an open paint with nothing but Kyrie Irving, Klay Thompson, and Luka Doncic back. Now, at this point, if RJ Barrett feels that he needs to pass out, because you've passed it to a player who's going to do the right thing, there is a pass now to Ochai on the opposite corner. And there's also a pass to Grady. This is perfect. Okay. So if RJ doesn't want to take this drive, guess what? Scottie passing this ball to RJ to drive the offense home has actually opened two wide open corners. And if at this point RJ wants to pass to Grady, it's probably three. You want to pass to Ochai at his spot where he's basically one of the best 3-point shooters at that position, that's an open three. Or you want to drive over and go to your right hand over Kyrie Irving, well, that's food, right? Because Kyrie Irving, despite what people might say, is not a great defender. And he's certainly not a great defender at the rim. RJ had a huge advantage. Good for Scottie finding it. Okay, let's take a look at the next play. Now, here, once again, against the Dallas Mavericks, what should he do here? Okay, there's a skip pass to Jonathan Mobo. Luka Doncic has his back to Jonathan Mobo, completely sleeping off of him. Jacoby's baseline cut is completely, sealed off. There's a pass, I guess, to Jamison Battle, but it's a little bit congested. Armin saying Jacoby. Let's see. I don't think that's the right pass. I think the right pass will be once Derek Lively commits to go to Jakob Pertl. Let's see what he does. Boom. Yeah, that's the right play. Okay, let's go. Now here, Scottie is going to drive and you force the commitment from Daniel Gafford. And you can't do that unless you're looking to score. One of my biggest issues with Scottie in years past is he's looking to pass. He's not looking to score. Here, Scottie is looking to score, but he's more than willing to play make. But you'll see that he waits for Daniel Gafford to commit before making this pass. And by doing so, he's going to make this so much easier for Jakob Pertl. Again, easy, wide open layup. And here's a really interesting wrinkle of that, if you want to just hone in. Notice that you didn't need a ball screen. Scottie is able to do this from a standstill, right? He is able to just bully his way. Kyrie Irving can't stop him and take one step into the paint. He didn't need a ball screen to do this. He didn't need anything. This is just from a standstill. This is what stars do. Okay. They force the collapse, they wait for the commitment, and then they shift it over, right? He's not a pick and roll merchant. And I'm not saying Scottie can't execute in the pick and roll. He's actually pretty good in the pick and roll. I'm saying that for a lot of these plays, he didn't need any help. Okay. Here, once again. Now, what's the right play? Well, you got Davion Mitchell at the half court. You've got Alex Caruso and Cason Wallace who are about to try to trap Scottie Barnes, who probably they don't respect enough to think that he can split the double. He can't split this because they are truly two of the best perimeter defenders in the league. He's not going to go around it, or it's going to be a backcourt violation. They're trying to force a turnover here. Now, the Raptors are getting smoked 34-15. So clearly Mark Daigneault just wants to blow the smoke out of this. They just want to blow the Raptors out at this point. But what is the right play? Armin saying Davion. That is definitely not the right play. The right play is to attack the paint, which is wide open, right? Because the Raptors shooters are drawing the defenders. Jalen, I believe that is Jalen Williams at the bottom of your bottom left of your screen. I can't really see at this point until the play progresses. Scotty has a wide open paint. Now he can't attack it because they're forcing a double team at the hash mark. However, there is one player who could potentially attack the paint, and that is Chris Boucher, right? And that's exactly what Scotty's going to do. Look at how wide open the paint is when Chris gets it. Now, if Chris was even a half decent passer, this is a wide open dunk for Jacoby Walter. If Chris Boucher was Kelly Olynyk, this is a pass to Jacoby Walter 100 times out of 100. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is not closing that gap quickly enough. However, Chris Boucher is Chris Boucher, and so Chris Boucher is going to take his own shot, and that's fine. It was pretty open. Okay. Now, this pass to Grady is not the point. He makes this pass, but it gets sealed off because the pass is tipped. Now, Scotty is going to get this rebound. Now, what does he do here? Do you know that he has already processed where this pass is going and he hasn't even landed on the ground yet? Look at this. Just drops it off to Jonathan Mobo, who has Isaiah Hartenstein on his back, and that's just way too much space. Okay, now here we go. Here again. Scotty's going to get the basketball. Now, what do? You can force the drive and then try to get through Shai Gilgeous-Alexander and Lou Dort, which is probably going to be a really bad idea. You can try to whip this across to RJ Barrett, who has one defender in the paint and could probably attack that. Or, or, or there's a pass to Ochai Agbaji. What should he do? What he should not do is pass back to Davion Mitchell, because that is like he's useless here. Okay. Saying Ochai, who could then pass to RJ if Williams commits. That's a great point. Yeah. Yeah. I like where your head was going there, because if you pass the Ochai, that forces a scramble. However, I don't think that it would be Jalen Williams who would switch over. It would be Lou Dort. So it wouldn't remove Jalen Williams from the play, and Jalen Williams would just stay home on RJ Barrett. The the pass here is clearly Ochai. Clearly. It's wide open. There's not a defender within a mile, and it's in his spot. Okay. Now, here comes another one. Okay. Did you guys see that before it happened? I apologize if I didn't pause long enough for you, but it just felt this is too obvious, right? I'm not even I'm not even stopping for this one. This was wide open underneath the basket. Scotty sees it. Great. Now, what about this? This is crazy. The shot clock has just reset to 24. Okay. And RJ Barrett is leaking out. And here, I'm not even going to ask you what's the right move, because, well, you already know. It's RJ. Seeing that you have a wide open paint and you have a teammate who is sprinting ahead of his defender and has beat his defender. The Raptors got basically backdoored by PJ Washington and that RJ Barrett thing where RJ and Davion and Kelly just botched it and miscommunicated it. Well, here RJ is going to do the same thing to the OKC Thunder, where he is going to attack in transition, get ahead of his defender, and they're going to have a miscommunication here. And now it's RJ versus Cason Wallace one-on-one at the rim. And with RJ at a full head of steam, yeah, for sure, man. Okay. Easy peasy. Now, what's the right pass? There's two passes. Pass number one, a little bit congested, potentially is to Jacoby Walter. The angle isn't right. If Jacoby was 2 feet ahead, I guarantee you this is going to be Jacoby Walter. However, there's one other option that most of us mere mortals don't see. Okay. And that is to get a foot in the paint, force the defense to collapse here, know that the big is trailing the play, which is Pascal Siakam, and you're going to have a layup at the rim, provided you find the right person. Now, if Scotty just bulldozes his way to the rim right here, like Giannis, I'm pretty sure he can find 2 points or get to the line against Tyrese Halliburton. And honestly, maybe when he's a little bit more comfortable with his handle, this is going to be a rip through and then right over, for a dunk. However, right now he's looking to play make. He likes to play make in these situations. He's got technically, it's not even an advantage, but it is an advantage if you think about it. See, right now, you're at a sort of perceptive disadvantage. You have a 2-on-2. You have Andrew Nemhard. But if you wait a second, you have a 4-on-3. You see what I mean? This is what I mean by court mapping. Because right now, because Pascal Siakam is not able to catch up to this play and seal off RJ Barrett, that is going to put 4-on-3. And if Scotty can force 2 defenders, then really, if Scotty takes away 2 defenders, then it's 3-on-1. That's just the simple math of court mapping. Watch this. Take 1 step into the paint, take Tyrese Halliburton out of the play, and then pass to Ochai Agbaji, who gets a wide open dunk. See what I mean? Okay. Now here we go. Where are we going here? There's a few options. You can take a foot in the paint and then try to flick this back to Davion Mitchell, but Davion is basically standing 33 feet away from the basket. So that's probably not going to help. He's trying his best to influence the spacing, but because he's not a great shooter, it doesn't really help. And so really Scotty is driving into the help right now, which is good. He beats his man Nemhard, and he's going to drive into Turner and Halliburton to force a collapse or force a commitment. Now, if Halliburton is able to successfully stop this, which he's not, because he's not far enough into the gap right now, into the driving lane, then I understand that this is going to have to be a reset. However, if Halliburton doesn't stop this, then he will force a 2-on-1 against Miles Turner. And that's exactly what I think he's going to do here. And that's exactly it. The minute Turner commits, it's a wide open pass to Jakob Poeltl. Okay. Similar situation. Let's see what he does here. Now, what's the right play? Davion Mitchell, a lob to Jonathan Mobo, or is there something else? I'm cool with this because, and I'll tell you why. There is a chance that Pascal Siakam or Isaiah Jackson recover on the Mobo thing. And if Mobo comes down with it, it's going to be like all the defense is right around Jonathan Mobo right now. But there's one really high IQ pass, right? And it's not the obvious one, but it is the obvious one. And that's Jamison Battle in the corner. He's your best 3-point shooter on the court. And boom, of course. Jackson's too far away. Number 5 is way too far away. I don't know if that's Isaiah Jackson, but just way too far away to recover on that. Okay, now here's John. Again, this is the Luka stuff, right? You manipulate your defender, you force the second defender, and now here you've got Tyrese Halliburton off of Jamal Shed. Now you've got the help in the paint just waiting there, but you've got Ochai Agbaji wide open on the opposite side, right? So given the fact that Scotty can see that Miles Turner and Miles Turner and Pascal Siakam are sort of preoccupied with Scottie Barnes, then I think the right move is to wait for them to sort of get preoccupied with either Jamal Shed or Jakob Poeltl, and then to whip this through the defense or over the defense to Ochai Agbaji. Let's see what he does. That's what I would do with my limited basketball knowledge. Now, does it change here? Could also pass to RJ. Yeah, I think I'm going to pass to RJ. I'm going to pass to RJ. I'm going to pass to RJ so that he can pass to Ochai. I don't have the cleanest angle to Ochai. I'd have to lob it. By the time he gets there, Pascal will recover. I think I'd pass to RJ because RJ has a better playmaking advantage here or a better playmaking position. And that's largely due to one big reason, and that is Jakob Pertl. Jakob Pertl is creating the driving gap or the cutting gap for RJ Barrett here. And let's see what Scottie does here. See, like before this happened, I probably would have tried to slip this across to Ochai, but it's just not, the angle is just not there. So pass to RJ. Ah, never mind. RJ Barrett just pops up for a three. And again, it's possible because watch Jakob Pertl. Setting the screen away, he can't recover. And you know what's amazing? Because Pascal has sort of recovered to Ochai, if by some miracle, Miles Turner had closed this out, look where Jakob Pertl would be going. Jakob Pertl would be going right to the basket for a wide open dunk. But because Miles Turner does not recover, it's an open three for RJ Barrett. A little bit more complicated. All right. Okay, let's see here. Okay, we don't even need to stop that. That was a little too obvious. Okay, now what should he do? Now, Davion Mitchell inexplicably is just, he's like, whatever. They're not going to guard me. I might as well just get back on defense. The Raptors are technically playing 2-on-2 right now, or 3-on-2. No, they're playing 5-on-4 as they almost always are. But here, Scottie is going to get a foot past Pascal Siakam, and he's going to attack the shot blocker, right? Now, again, if he's Giannis Antetokounmpo, this is a dunk over Miles Turner, but he's not Giannis Antetokounmpo. He's not necessarily going to do that. But because he's not Giannis, he also understands that there's a pass here. And the second he can get a commitment from Miles Turner, Pascal Siakam has a responsibility to cut this pass off to Jakob Pertl. But because Pascal Siakam is notoriously lazy and really bad at this, it's going to result in a wide open Jakob Pertl. Okay. For all intents and purposes, that was wide open. I understand it's over the shot blocker or whatever, but yeah. Okay. Now, I'm not going to stop this because clearly I already played it ahead, but yes, this is a pass to RJ Barrett. And once again, you see the defense is behind. You see the shot blockers trailing the play. You see it's a one-on-one for RJ. But in order to see that here, you actually have to be really great at court processing. You have to see everything. You have to know where the help is, where the shot blocker is. And the second you can get a big and you can get ahead of him in transition and you can run the play up. I mean, you got 22 seconds on the clock right now. This is how Scottie finds early advantages. He just passed this to RJ. RJ gets a step on Jimmy Butler, and Jimmy Butler's not blocking that. Okay. In most situations, Jimmy Butler is not going to stop that. Once again, we're 22 seconds, 21 seconds, 20 seconds into the clock. What's the right play? Well, there's a really interesting part that you need to focus on right now, which is who is Scottie being guarded by? That's going to be a really big part of this because it's Bam Adebayo. Now, if you are Scottie Barnes, the stupidest thing to do right now is to try to drive into the paint against Bam Adebayo because he's a really good defender and you're kind of funneling him where you don't want him to be. What you want to do is you want to open the paint, which means you want to draw the shot blocker out. And then, exactly, you want to throw it to Jakob Pertl once he has successfully sealed the smaller Duncan Robinson, who is by no one's definition a good defender. So once again, throw this right over the defense. Jimmy Butler is not going to recover in time. And if perchance Jimmy had recovered on this, he's not big enough to stop Jakob Pertl in the paint. You found a perfect advantage. This is what I'm talking about, man. This is why Scottie is such a great. Okay, now, against two decently sized defenders, Most people cannot make this pass. They don't have an angle to make this pass. But what did Kyrie Irving say when he was discussing Scottie Barnes and Luka Doncic? And perhaps also a guy like Nikola Jokic. Big playmakers can do things small playmakers can't. And this is one of those things that Scottie can do. Right now, he can still see Jakob Poeltl and he can still see RJ Barrett. Okay. Armin saying Jakob or RJ. I think it's going to be RJ because it's too congested a pass to Jakob. Perfect. Okay. Now, important to realize who was the double. Who was doubling? Bam Adebayo, right? So when you consider who is doubling, you now realize Hayward Highsmith cannot stop Jakob Poeltl, right? So you're creating an advantage for RJ Barrett because he has a driving lane. And the second you pass to RJ Barrett, who is a capable shooter, not a great shooter, but a capable shooter, you're at least going to force the defense to react. And then they're going to be in scramble and they're going to be in rotation. This is Tyler Hero stepping up. Tyler Hero cannot stop RJ Barrett one-on-one, and Bam Adebayo is out of the play. So I'm not saying this was an easy drive. You know, it takes a lot of skill to do some of the stuff that RJ Barrett does, but he's more than capable of it, and he's doing it without help in the paint. Okay. All right. Now here, Jamison Battle puts it on the ground, swings it to Jonathan Mobo, pass to Scottie. What's the pass? What is the pass, guys? There's two options. Number one, post up Bam Adebayo and throw it, back to Jamison Battle. But the right pass is this. But it's not difficult to say this is the right pass. What's difficult is that he knows this is the right pass before he even catches the basketball. Touch pass. Wide open dunk. All right. Next play, Scottie Barnes. I think that's Nikola Jovic or one of Pele. I don't know. I think that's Pele. Okay. Now, this is a bit of a trick one. You don't even see the player on the screen who he's going to pass to, but he passes to the best shooter on the court, and that's going to be Jamison Battle for a wide open three because Jaime Jaquez was too far away. Now, here we go. Wide open, RJ Barrett. Now, what does he do here? Another trick question because you can't see the play because it's not even on the screen, but it's RJ Barrett with a seal. And guess what? Bam Adebayo isn't there. Bam Adebayo is 2 feet above the paint. So this is a quick move for RJ Barrett, and you're rewarding a player. And before the help can get there, RJ Barrett is able to successfully score on the smaller, weaker defender. Okay. Again, finding opportunities in early transition. Now, here, RJ is going to handle the basketball. He's going to swing it over to Scottie Barnes. Scottie sort of sets this little screen here. Now, what should Scottie do? Well, there's really like one option, two options. Number one, Jakob Poeltl as a smaller player in the paint. He can clearly see over that. Number two, there's no number two. You can't skip past this to Jacoby Walter because Jimmy Butler is literally playing that. Okay. And if Jacoby were to come up to the top, then that would just sort of reset the play and sort of let the heat off. But there's a major advantage that the Raptors have in the paint. And once Jakob does this, because he's so good at sealing, he basically takes his man out of the play. And before Jimmy Butler can get back to recover, Jakob Poeltl gets a really easy basket at the paint. Okay, so hang on 1 second. I hope this little film breakdown has been interesting to you guys. What I wanted to show was that Scottie Barnes is a fantastic passer and a really good playmaker. And I think he can get so much better. I think as his shooting improves, those gaps are going to widen. I think as the talent around him improves, the gaps are going to get wider. And as you're seeing, He's basically developing himself in very, very tight situations, right? Everything is super tight. So it's mimicking some of the stuff he's going to see later on in the playoffs, right? So you say there's no experience like playoff experience. Well, what makes the playoffs so difficult is all those gaps are tighter. That's really all it is, right? There isn't the same easy opportunities. But right now, there's really nothing easy for the Toronto Raptors. On most nights, unless you're playing the New Orleans Pelicans or the Chicago Bulls or the suddenly tanking Brooklyn Nets, there aren't a lot of easy games, right? There aren't a lot of easy possessions. Everything is super hard. And that is forcing the Raptors, including RJ Barrett, Grady Dick, Scottie Barnes, all their players, to basically learn to be comfortable in tighter spaces. Once you learn to be tighter in tighter spaces, naturally your handle is going to get refined, your passing talent is going to get refined, your basketball IQ is going to have to get refined because again, those wide gaps create room for error, right? If your pass is just a little bit off and the gap is super wide, like if Drew Holiday passes to Jason Tatum and it's a little bit off and Tatum's still open because the gaps are so wide, right? The spacing is so great for the Boston Celtics that everything is super easy. Now, the cool thing about the Raptors is nothing's easy. And that's when I often liken it to wearing ankle weights or wearing a weighted vest because right now you're developing all this talent for all your young players working through these super tight gaps, which means everything's harder. Your shots are harder. There's a second defender coming at you because you're constantly playing 4-on-5. You're running a simulation. Davion Mitchell is helping you tremendously. Jamal Shed is helping you tremendously. Guys like Bruno Fernando, Chris Boucher, all of these guys that you think maybe, just maybe, a couple years from now, they won't be on the team. Although I'm really praying for Jamal Shed to make it. You look at these guys and you're like, man, as they develop as shooters, unless they develop as shooters, they're compromising your spacing, which means you're trying to do one thing, the other team is trying to do another thing. And so, now Scottie is facing a double team at the half court mark from two of the best defenders in the league and is being blitzed at the half court mark. And the opposing team can do that to you largely because of the talent that he's playing with. And I think that that's really important because he's seeing certain coverages. And I think he's just going to be a better playoff player for it. So once you do go to the playoffs, ideally next year with more help, more, talent around you, more shooting talent, better cutters, better decision makers, you'll just be playing in the same sort of spacing in the playoffs as you are right now in the regular season, I guess is what I'm saying. Truthfully, I love analyzing basketball, but I have no talent. Amen. All right. I'm going to catch y'all later. I am going to watch the in season tournament. I am excited. I watched the Spurs versus the Portland Trailblazers last night. That was a wild ride. The undermanned Spurs coming back from, I think it was down 12-14 in the fourth quarter. It was crazy. There was a huge run by the Portland Trailblazers. To anyone saying that the NBA is bad or something like that, man, I understand your point, but also there's so much good happening right now. There's so much talent. It was such a cool game to watch. Now, unfortunately, sports betting, has come with some very bad sides. But one of the good sides is almost everything is always on TV. Like every game last night was pretty much on TV, sponsored by one of those betting companies because they want you to be able to see these games. So, if you can just not bet on sports, then you're getting free basketball all the time. So that's pretty cool. League Pass is making everything possible as well. I might be on playback next week, Friday. We'll see. And we'll see if I do the Raptors rebuild on NBA 2K25 tomorrow. There's a chance I'm not going to do it. I wanted to do this instead. And maybe we do that next week and we'll simulate out the 2025 draft. We'll simulate out the trade deadline. Finally, before we leave, Dennis Schroder getting traded to the Golden State Warriors for DeAnthony Melton and 3 second-round picks is kind of a kick in the ass or kick in the nuts to the Raptors, who gave up Dennis Schroder for free last year to the Brooklyn Nets. And now they're able to basically rehab his value a little bit and recoup 3 second-round picks and a pretty serviceable player who, albeit is out for the season, and DeAnthony Melton. 2 major takeaways from this trade. Number one is, yeah, Dennis Schroder has really played himself into being seen as a successful backup. I don't necessarily think the Raptors could have just kept him and held the value because clearly he wanted to go start in Brooklyn and sort of rehab his value. He had a 2-year deal and this year was always going to be a contract year, and he was always going to come in as a contract year. So, you know, is he a much better player than Davion Mitchell? Hell yes. Dennis Schroder is a considerably better player than Davion Mitchell. However, do you really want a better player right now driving winning when for basically since you traded Dennis Schroder, you've been trying to lose? Is that worth 3 second-round picks? I don't know. I don't know what the calculus is on that. The second thing that I think this is a takeaway from is that the Raptors' next game is against the Chicago Bulls 2 days from now, so on Monday. But their game after that on the 19th is against the Brooklyn Nets, and now that Brooklyn Nets team is tanking, which is tough because now you're going to be facing a team that is trying to tear it down. And I'm not really sure what that means for the Raptors, but Dennis Schroder has been a really huge part of the good things that are happening for the Brooklyn Nets. And it's a little bit demoralizing if you're a team like the Nets, where you know you're one of your four best players just got traded for nothing, right? Just got traded for future seconds. So you know you see the Nets, and this is probably one of those things where you're looking around and you're like, okay, I guess we're trying to lose now. So you might see a very demoralized effort from the Nets. You might see a blatant tank effort from the Nets, at which point, you know, a possible loss for the Raptors will turn into a win. So it's going to be hard to out tank some of these teams. The Raptors' saving grace is that they are technically ahead of some of these teams in terms of tanking. The bad part is it's going to be hard to out tank some of these teams once they start to strip down their rosters. The final takeaway from that is that the trade market is open. Frank Kaminsky is joining the Raptors 905, I believe, very soon. So that's going to be interesting. But the trade market is open. Thomas Bryant has been traded. Dennis Schroder has been traded, which means teams are getting started early. I said that the Raptors would look to explore trading Jakob Poeltl next week. We'll see if that ends up being a prophecy come true, or if the Raptors just decide to shut him down, or if the Raptors decide to do something else altogether. But I think the Raptors can be participants in trades. I think they can be certainly facilitators. Like, I think they can help other teams facilitate. So that should be interesting. If you didn't catch the last two videos on this channel, number one was the Darko Rajakovic rant in terms of what I think the Raptors are doing defensively. The other one was a short little breakdown of Jacoby Walter. I'll catch y'all later. That's 3 videos in 24 hours. Please hit like, subscribe, and all that good stuff. I'll talk to you guys later. Thank you so much, and Merry Christmas.